Hi guys, my name is Sumit Pandey and I'm currently working as a front-end developer at Wimbit. If you had joined our previous sessions of our community, so in those sessions we told you about what WordPress is, right? And how you can use the web hosting techniques to deploy your app and all the thing and set up a Google Cloud thing. The only part was remaining was is this front-end part, right? So I took this opportunity, to teach you guys. Trust me, I'm not into teaching that much, but I took this opportunity because it is a kind of challenging task. It kind of it forces you to acknowledge your gaps in knowledge because you'll begin to question things other will question. So I have made this kind of philosophy that to have a master concept, I have to teach it to someone else as well. A quick recap about previous session because I think most of the people, if somebody has not attended the last session, I'm going to tell you about what is React and what you're going to learn in this course. So yeah, so React was developed back in 2011 at Facebook, and it's the currently most popular library out there, and the other competitors are Angular and Vue. And if you want to expand your job opportunities in front-end part, you should have the React on your resume. Because if you go to Google Trends and see that how React is doing, and you can compare with its other competitor like Angular and Vue, you can see React is totally dominating the space of UI library in that part. So this was pretty much information about React. So yesterday Aman told you about DOM and virtual DOM. Did you guys understood what it was? Or should I explain one more time to you? Come on, guys. Hello.
I think we should move forward. We all know.
So let me give a quick recap of how DOM works. So DOM stands for Document Object Model, and when you write your HTML code, you write like HTML body and all this stuff. Browser doesn't understand that thing. It makes a tree, like you have studied in your course, in your computer science course about tree data structure. So it studies that tree, and it passes that tree from top to bottom and left to right. So if you guys allow me, I can. Is my voice still there?
Yeah, in comment sections, people are asking for you to explain one more time.
Okay. Okay. No problem. Let me return to my next document. So this is how a DOM tree looks like, guys. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So this
Yes.
is how a DOM tree looks like. This is how a DOM tree looks like. When you write HTML code, the top of the parent will be HTML and its two children will be head and body. They both are sibling. Okay. And inside head, it has a children called title. And inside that title, you name your title anything you want to be. Okay. And inside the body, you can see that there is a unordered list and it contains 3 li elements, 1, 2, and 3. So this is how browser manipulates DOM, and this is how it forms a tree and passes it from top to bottom and left to right. So virtual DOM does the same thing, right? What virtual DOM do is it just take your what it does is earlier you had to write some DOM APIs, like if you guys have worked with JavaScript and HTML both to make something small app. So just you had to write all that DOM APIs like element.create element, and then you had to select a specific element that you want to append to the newly created element. So it was a kind of messy stuff that you had to do a hell lot of things. What virtual DOM does is basically virtual DOM. Whenever you what virtual DOM is like, React keeps a lightweight representation of real DOM in the memory, which we refer to as a virtual DOM. So it's very cheap to create. Unlike the real DOM, it's very cheap to create. And when we make changes to the state of the component, we get a new React element, and React will then compare this element with its other children, with the previous one, or that with the previous DOM, and it and then it will update the part of the real DOM to keep it in sync with the real DOM. So other libraries like Angular and Vue, what they used to do is they used to make the DOM manipulation right to the real DOM, which is very expensive thing to do. But what React does is it forms a virtual DOM. It's very cheap to create, as I said, and doing manipulation over there is hell lot easy, and it saves most part of writing the DOM APIs. Okay, you guys get that?
Yeah.
Should I move forward?
Sure.
So many of the people, like, were asking me about and I had the same question, like, what should I choose, Angular or Vue? And there are other more front-end libraries like Selvit, which came, I think, last year, and there is other one called Vue. But mostly we'll compare the Angular and React. So as Aman told you earlier, that these both are, similar at its UI in terms of their component architecture. However, Angular is a framework. It's a kind of full-fledged, complete solution. While React is just a library, just a view library. It only takes care of rendering the view, nothing more, nothing less. And so it's not a bad part. That most of the people think that it's not a full solution. That why should I go for React? It's not a bad part. In React, you get to choose your own library. Like, you get to choose your own routing library. So there are a Reach router, React router. You can choose as you are comfortable with both of them. Okay, and in which is supposed to be fixed with Angular. So you cannot choose Angular's library by yourself. What they give, you have to use that thing, and which often breaks from one version to another. So that's a bad part I have seen in Angular, and which I don't like about Angular. And if you are learning in 2020, if you want to be a if you want to learn about front end, so you don't have to learn Angular. It's a very messy thing. I don't personally like it, but it's your choice. You can still learn it. So today's agenda will be what is pure React. So just bear with me, guys. Today, you will feel a little bit uncomfortable with this thing if you haven't worked before with normal JavaScript and HTML. But later in this course, you will feel you will gonna be comfortable with all the stuff that I'm teaching you, and that I'll teach you. So the second thing, we'll look at what are tooling. So you should know what tools you are using to build a product. So if you're not clear with your tools, you cannot build a product, right? And after that, we're gonna see the Create React app, and after that, we will create using Create React app, we make a small application and host it on the Firebase as well. What is pure React? Pure React. So here we need no compile step, right? We're gonna need no JSX, no Babel. For those of the people who don't know about Babel, Babel is a transpiler. It's a kind of it converts your code, like when you write JSX, browser doesn't understand that it's compiled back to the pure React, which I'm gonna tell you right now. And you don't have to use Webpacks and Parcel. These are the package bundler. Webpack offers a lot more configuration as compared to Parcel. These both are the same thing, but Parcel is pre-configured and it's very easy to use. But if you work on a large application, you have to switch to Webpack and some JavaScript on the page. Okay, so let me guys go ahead and open my text editor right here. Wait, guys. So let's open this. So this is what I have written right here, but we'll start from scratch. So all you need to do is create your own file, like whatever you like, name it, and inside that put a file called index.html. Okay. After that, you can see this code right here below the script tag. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna write everything from scratch. Okay. So I'm gonna use Emmet here. So if I do shift and exclamation and press enter, it's gonna do the whole thing for me. I don't have to write DOM, HTML, meta tag, meta, all this thing. I don't even remember how to write all this stuff. I usually forget this. Okay. And we will say mobile-web.dev. And after that, inside body, what you have to do is you have to make a div. So if you want to make a div using Emmet, you can use hash, because you define ID by hash, and you can name it like root. And when you press enter, it's automatically gonna give you a div. You don't have to write it by own. So it's a pretty much great tool in VS Code that it offers. If you use different like Sublime Text or Text, or one is there like WebStorm, it also offers the same thing. So it's not only exclusive to VS Code. So we're gonna put here a not rendered. Okay, this is a simple, pretty HTML code. So what if I run this code and I open it in my... So you guys can see here, not rendered. Can you guys see? Hello.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you guys see the not render part?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So now what we have to do is we have to just go to the React documentation, React CDN, right? When you head over to this, you're gonna find two links. These are the libraries which will help us to write React code. So these are the two script tags. You have to copy this from here and paste it right here. Okay. And after that, you have to make another script tag. And inside this, we're gonna write our code for React. So what is so the main hard thing of React is like it uses components, and it's all about you have to build a component, and when you build it, you can use it many multiple times. Uh, uh, you can use it like multiple times. You don't have to make the same thing again and again. And it's very this is the very main thing about React. So if I let you explain, if I go to like let's say if I go to Rembre.com. So in this website, this is made with React as Aman told you yesterday. You can also see that like I have installed the developer tools of React. So this is showing that this page is using the production build of React. Okay, so this is using the latest part of React. So what this page comprises of a main thing and two divs like sidebar and this. So whenever you update anything, so think of it like as a sidebar is a different component. This carousel is of a different component, right? And if you go down, this one card is of different component, and it's used again and again with different data. So you can see that I don't have to write again and again that div part. So that's what component plays a main heart role of using React. So let's go back to our this stuff. So we're gonna make a functional component. So let's call it app, okay? And you can type like return and react dot create element. So what it is like, you can pass a div inside it, and after that trust me guys, you don't have to write code like this. It's just a part that how Reacts get compiled and how it's works under the hood. So that's what I'm trying to show you. Okay. So this is your code that I have written inside the script tag, and if I go to this thing, our but it's still showing not rendered. We written a function but we forgot to invoke it. So we have also to invoke it. But before invoking it, you have to use this special library called React DOM, which we imported right here, this thing. Okay. And it's important to use it because if you don't use it, you cannot print anything that the JavaScript you are writing to the DOM. So you have to use it. So you have to again create element. You have to write it again and again if you're writing up your React, and you use this composite component that you have made by yourself. You have to use it here, and where you want to render this component to, you have to provide the second argument to this function is uh, like document dot get element by id. That's a way of selecting any JavaScript sorry the HTML element. Here you can see the id. I'm selecting this div. Okay, so we're gonna pass inside this root. Okay, so let's head over to our this, and you guys see it.
Yes.
So did you see that it overwritten what we have written right here, like not rendered? It got populated with hello people. So this was the first React function that we wrote. So any doubt in this part? You can ask me. So let me guys know you that let you know that this the React.create element function takes first argument the div that it can be any React element, like it can be div, it can be paragraph, it can be heading. And the second thing is like it's an ID. Like you pass when you write HTML, you pass it some attribute like class ID and other stuff. So the second part is this, because I haven't used it, so I have kept it empty. And the next thing is what text or what data you want to pass inside that HTML tag. So like if you go and define, go to the browser, and if you see my network request, let me do this. Can you guys see these two requests? Can you guys see these two requests?
Yes.
So you can see if we go to our review, so you can see this whole library we loaded. So what we are writing is React.create element. We are just doing a small part of it. The whole thing is done by this library, which we have currently loaded from the CDN. And the second thing is like this. I think somebody is asking some question. So anybody has some doubt in this part? I did not understand about anything like what's this fat arrow function and what's. If anybody has the answer, if anybody has some question, please feel free to ask a question. Nobody? Okay, I'll take that as no. Everyone is cleared with what I just uh, told you. So before starting off with the whole or more thing about React, let me just guys give you, because many of the people will think that what the hell is this kind of syntax? What is this? I have never seen it. Most of the people that are joining the session already know it, but most of the people have no idea about how we writing the syntax. So we're gonna go to the REPL and
Out of this comment section,
okay.
people are asking for what's the second parameter.
Okay, let me just show you that. So the second parameter is like if we go to our this stuff, mobile-web.dev, and if you go to element, and you can see the whole part is right printed over here. Okay, so you can see this div is printed right here, and you can see that this hello world is there. Like now I'm gonna pass in the parameter. I'll call it id. Uh, Anybody saw that this div previously didn't have any ID, but when I added this stuff, ID equals to container, this div got the ID called container. So this second attribute is like you can pass when you're passing this, like take an example of this div. When you pass the ID inside that div, the attribute that you're passing, you have to give it right here. Did it answer my question? Did it answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah, it's in my attributes.
Yeah, it's an line attribute. Azhar Khalid, you asked that use create react app. This will create a lot of confusion. No, I don't think so, because you need to know your tools, how it works before starting off with directly create react app, because create react app does a hell lot of things for you. You don't have to write more of the things. So it's my experience that I also learned from front end masters. I saw that this is how they teach people. So just bear with me a few minutes, and then you'll get to see create react app as well. Okay, so before starting off with this, let me guys go and tell you about yesterday there was a question that do you need to sorry do you need to be well experienced with JavaScript before starting off with React? And the answer was no. That was kind of true, but you have to be comfortable with the ES6 module system, which was introduced in 2017. So you have to know about what ES6 is, how to write syntax. Many of the people here already knows it, but the people who don't know it, it's my job to tell them. So the first thing that ES6 introduced was let. Okay, so they introduced let, const, and the other thing which was already available was var. So let me guys go ahead and tell you about this. This is the REPL.it. It's a kind of console that I'm using to demonstrate it to you guys. So let's start with this stuff. We declare variables, like, so since JavaScript a dynamically typed, loosely typed language, you don't have to provide syntax like int variable name and then the name, but then what the variable gonna contain inside it. You just write var and you declare a variable. You can assign it any string or any number or any boolean or other symbol. Okay, so let me guys go ahead and type this name. This is John, and if I'm gonna console.log name, and if I hit enter, check it, yeah, it's working. It's here we will see the result. So it's printed John. Okay, now the problem with var is, let me show you. I'm redeclaring this variable. Okay, so when I redeclare this like Luna and I run it, do you guys see that it didn't throw an error and just printed out the name directly Luna? So this is not a very much big problem if you're working with small app. So one of the biggest problem with declaring variables with var keyword is that you can overwrite the declaration without any error. So as you can see that in the above code, the name variable originally declared as John, and then it overridden to be Luna. So in small application, you might not run into this type of problem, but when your application or when your code becomes larger, you might accidentally overwrite a variable that you did not intend to overwrite. So because this behavior does not throw any error, searching and bug fixing gonna be a hell lot difficult for you guys. And if I declare with, so ESX introduced a thing called let, and when you declare this with let, and when you run it, you guys can see that it the compiler threw an error right here. It says let name equals to Luna because identifier name has already been declared, so you can't redeclare it. So this is the powerful thing about let and var keyword. So if your application grows, you will, if and by mistake, if you try to overwrite a variable, you will not end up overwriting it. Okay, is that clear to you guys? Out in the section. So one more thing I would like to tell you about let is a very powerful tool which they introduced. I think someone mic is on, it's causing it. Shadang, can you please turn off your mic? So now guys, let's move ahead with let me guys show you how what I mean, like when you declare variable using let, it get block scope. So what does that mean? So let me go ahead and tell you with normal example. I hate writing for loops. Right here. We are going to push the item, and if we console log I, let's see the result. You can still access this variable I because the whole loop ran over, iterated over through it, and the value get updated to 5. That's why, because we are getting this 5 right here. So it's very it's kind of great danger when you write variables, when you declare variable using var, because you end up if you want to use the same name with I out of this scope, out of this for loop scope, you will the code will break. So if you declare this with let, and if you try to access this I outside of this for loop, this compiler will throw an error at you. So what it's saying, I is not defined. So this is like block scoping thing. Anybody has a doubt? Can we move ahead?
Yeah, continue.
Yeah. Okay. So this was block scoping, and let's talk about spread operator. Does anybody know about spread operator in JavaScript? Anybody?
Can you please repeat the question?
Anybody knows about spread operator in JavaScript?
Yes.
Okay, how many people know? Can you raise your hands? Okay, I can see two hands. Most of the people don't know about spread operators. So let me go ahead and tell them first. So if you declare an array and you put like this. And what if I want to copy this array? What can I do except spread operator? Can I get some answers? So there are two. So let me guys tell you. If you do like this, and if you console and log it out, both these, array 1 and array 2, you run it. You can see both the arrays. This array got copied to array 1. Okay, but what if I do this? Did you see that? You ended up overwriting the first the array that you didn't want to intend to overwrite. So the guys who knows about spread operator, can they give me a reason why this happened?
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
Basically, spread operator is used for cloning. It is not used for deep cloning, but it is used for basically copying the array part into
Yeah.
another variable.
Okay, that's a right answer. But I'm asking that I just copy like this. Okay, I assigned a variable and copied it right here. But when I overwritten the first index of the array one, why did it get also reflected in array as well? That's what I'm asking.
Basically, you are referencing array to array one. You are using not primitive because array works on object basis, so it is you basically working on referencing part.
Yeah.
You are referencing, so basically both are not both are deeply cloned. So they
Yeah.
will also
So it's like overall like JavaScript has two things like a primitive type and a reference
reference
type.
type. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So reference type, the object and array falls in reference type, and other stuff like symbol, string, numbers, and all this thing falls in primitive types. So to remove this problem, so never do this like that. If you want to copy an array, just always do like spread operator works like three dots and the array name that you want to copy inside it. And if you see, it's showing the same result, but when you sorry, array one, and if I try to overwrite it again, so it didn't overwrite the first thing, right? It's working correctly fine. Anybody has doubt in this? Should we move on?
Sure.
So the other part of ES6 module is fat arrow functions. Let me first, guys, give you about destructuring. So anybody knows about destructuring here? Because we're gonna use it a hell lot of times. Only two people knows. So do I need to explain destructuring to you guys? Like if other people say, or I can skip the part. Come on, guys. Okay, most of the people are saying yes. So okay, let me go ahead and tell you guys how destructuring works. So let me go ahead and make an object, and inside that object, let me name John. And so if I want to access that name, how can I access this? It's pretty easy. You can see that you got the name, right? But this and what if you want to store it in different variable, this name part? You have to create another variable called name, and then you're gonna use this object dot name. And again, if you print this, you will get the same result, right? This is kind of a messy thing to do. Most of the time when you're gonna write a React code, you have to use destructuring. You'll get to see that in over this course. So let me go ahead and tell you guys about destructuring. How destructuring works is you're gonna type in this curly braces. Inside that you can pass name and age, what parameters you want to destructure and what you're gonna out of this object. Okay, and you're gonna pass the object name right here. And if you're gonna go and name it like name comma age, if you run it, sorry. Oh. So these part got destructured. So writing a one line of code and this much code is pretty difficult. So try writing less code. If you have less code on your code base, it will be easier to fix bugs. And if you want to overwrite, if you want to use different name, so you can pass like name one, the variable that you want to store this name inside this. You can pass another variable name like this and age. And if you go and print this stuff, again I did the same mistake. Yeah, you got. Everybody understood what destructuring is? It's kind of restructuring the thing again. Anybody has any doubt? Or Mr. raised his hand. You can ask. Feel free to ask. So should we move on, right? let's move on. So the other thing is that the code that I wrote here, like this code, it uses fat arrow function. So it's also a new part of JS. So whenever earlier you used to write the function like this, and you can normally like in your console login, you invoke it right here. It will do the job. Okay. But the new syntax that appear in JavaScript in ES6 module, which says you can write a function like this as well using fat arrow function. So you can, it also works the same. Okay, so this also works the same, and we're gonna use a hell lot of time this fat arrow function in this course. I don't prefer usually writing functions like this, but it's your preference. Mostly when when your code breaks and when you write the and when you use fat arrow function, the stack the code just break. This in the stack you can't see that function name because it's kind of anonymous over there. And when you name function like this, it has its own name, so it will be easier for you guys to figure out. It's your preference. You can go for functional normal function declaration or fat arrow function declaration. Okay. Yeah. So how many of you guys knows about functional programming? Because React majorly uses the functional programming part. And okay. So can you tell me about functional programming? What is functional programming?
Basically, we use function for component-based program, like functions for every aspect of programming. Basically, if we say we used class, now we use functions for both container working and components also.
Okay. That's not exactly the same.
Basically,
It
pure
pretty much
function,
defines.
pure
Yeah.
functional programming, basic function should sometimes does not return any value and is used for not logic working, like it doesn't return anything. Basic or rest I can't.
You basically mostly use functions to write your code. You don't
Yeah.
rely on objects often,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
use more of the function part.
Functions
And
for me.
writing functional programming, it's kind of, there are two kinds of code: an imperative code and declarative code. So when you write for loop, that's more of an imperative code, and when you write for each loop or you use map, these all the things are, it's a kind of declarative part. It's false and declarative thing, and React uses most of the declarative thing. I'm not saying that you're not going to use the for loop inside that, but you're going to come across more of this for each loop. So you guys know about for each map and all this stuff. Everybody has idea about for each map. Okay. Can you raise hands? Only 3 people knows it. Other people want me to explain it? Five or most of the people who already knows it, just bear with me, because I have to let everybody knows and make comfortable with all this stuff before starting off directly with React. So go ahead and make an that's it. So how people generally iterate over this stuff? They use this for loop, iterate over the whole part. So you can see that it's pretty easy to iterate over this, like for using for loop. Okay, but what if I had to use for each loop to iterate over it? So I can go ahead and use this syntax, and it's gonna take item, and we're gonna write the console. So it's doing the same job. So can you guys see, the people who don't know about for each loop, it's how much it's easy to iterate over an array without using for loop. Can you guys see that? it reduces your amount of code that you write. It's very handy for you, and you will not. And if your code breaks, it will be easier for you to fix your bug. Anybody has this question in this part?
How can we imply any condition in for each?
For that, actually, you this part is only used for iterating over an object. Okay. To apply some condition, you will use. I'm going to tell you about that as well. You have to use another function called filter function. Okay.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and tell you that. We'll write this like this. Okay. And inside filter, but all you have to do is go ahead and make another duplicate array. And what filter does, it's kind of a boolean thing. It takes the part and the elements that inside that array matches the condition, it returns inside the another array. Like it's gonna return the whole the filtered array in array 1. So you're gonna write array dot filter, and you're gonna give the condition right here. Okay, item modulo 2 equal 0. This is the condition for filtering out even numbers. So can you guys see that? I filtered out the 2 and 4 out of this. And if you had to write a for loop, you know how painful it will be for you to write a for loop. Like you have to go like this, and then you I plus plus, and you're gonna put an if condition inside it, and inside that if condition you're gonna put the whole thing like I modulo 2 equal 0. So isn't it pretty much painful? And you want to console log it to the console. You see how much hassle we are reducing with using these functional programming thing, right? Anybody's clear with that? Awesome, filter. So should we move on? Anybody have some kind of doubt or anything? Okay. Let's get back to this stuff. So now anybody has doubt in this stuff, I mean, they are not understanding the syntax or anything. It's gonna confuse you at first, as Aman also said earlier, but it will gonna help you down the road. Here you got this. Okay. Cool. So one is a question. Got it. So this is how basically, if you want to know more about like this stuff, you can go to this Babel and you can write your code right here, and you can see that how JSXs get converted. It's very pretty much good tool to use. You can write like h1 tag. Can you guys see here? The same thing I did is happening right here. So when you write your code like in JSX, it's get converted to this part. That's why I wanted to show you that you should know about how this thing works. And this all the work is done by Babel. Babel is a transpiler. Everybody got it? So now let's go back to our create React app stuff that most of the people are waiting for. So you can open up your terminal. So create React app has a lot of things to offer by default. So it provides you Webpack configuration, it provides you Babel, it provides you some of much ESLint configuration. ESLint is a kind of linting tool which can be used to prevent your code to break, or you can write your own rules that when you write this code and ESLint will pass it if you have written some kind of rule that if this condition happens, the code should break. So for using ESLint, you can write much more good code. So by default, it's mostly configured out of the box using Create React app. So you don't have to configure anything. You don't have to configure Babel. You don't have to configure Webpack. You don't have to configure like anything. Everything is done for you out of the box. Let me go ahead and I'm gonna show you. So before starting off with this, I'd like to let you guys know about a bit about Node. Node. I mean npm patch or yarn. These are the tools that we're gonna use down the road. I mean, if you have idea about npm, most of people has some idea about. Okay, so before starting off with, you can download it from node.org. You can visit that website and you can go ahead and download this node project from there. Sorry guys. So you can go over here and you can see that so you can go, and the recommended version is long-term support version. You can also download the current, but it can break anytime because it's in development mode. You should always download the long-term support version. So you can download this from here, and when you go in your terminal and like type this, so you can check the version you are currently on. Okay, so Node is the tool that you must install on your computers before starting off with the React, because you're going to use npm hell lot of times. I mean, every time to pull the packages from the internet and put it in your dev dependencies. So you should use Node. And one other tool that I would like to recommend you guys is Prettier. Prettier, if you are on VS Code, you can go ahead and type. I already installed it in my computer. This is a code formatter, so you don't have to, sometimes people just go ahead and hit tabs to align their elements. You don't have to do this. You just, if I mess up with my code and hit save and enter, and it automatically formats the code for me. I don't have to do anything. So this is what a pretty thing Prettier does. And you can also use Yarn over this node package manager, but usually it's recommended that by the way, React by default uses Yarn. So if you want to use Yarn, go ahead, you can do it. So let me go ahead and make create React app. So npx, we're gonna write this command, npx create React app, and we're gonna name it kind of demo. When you hit enter, you can see it's already downloading the package. So I have already downloaded it in my computer. When it finishes, you just have to go to the let me just finish this one. So wait, there's already a demo created. It takes a bit of time to pull all the dependencies. Now it's installing the packages. You can, by the way, configure your own React app without create React apps. In that case, you have to configure your own webpack stuff and your own Babel thing. You have to pull all the React library, React DOM library from the npm library and put it inside your dev dependencies. With create React app, you don't have to do anything. You just have to write npx create React app and the project name, the name with which you want to create it. You can see that we have already installed the React and React DOM, React scripts, and CRA templates out of the box. So it will take a bit of time. Meanwhile, anybody has some question till now? Yeah. Everybody's clear with the whole thing? Anything about tooling or stuff? So yeah, it got installed. If you want to start your server, you can do yarn start. If you want to build your app and publish into the production, you have to first build it, and then it will get started. And so let me go ahead and so this is how you can go with it. I already created my own project, so let me go ahead and open that thing. So it was so you can see whole the thing that React builds for me. It gives us this build thing I've created by default. It got node modules, so you don't have to push this when you push your code to the GitHub. You don't have to include this. It's only a dev dependency thing. And inside public HTML, you got your main root of the HTML. So inside this, you got your your root. Inside this div, you got your root, which we declared in our code when we wrote pure React, and it has the source. So all you have to do is manipulate things inside source. It got this app component. It's the main part of the component. The parent component is like this one, the index one. It's using this app component inside it, and you have to use this import and export, which we will gonna look forward. So this is the React app, and if I go ahead and type npm start, let's see what happens. So the development server is starting. Yeah, so this is what React offers by default. So they have given us the pretty beautiful page, and you can change anything inside this, like learn React. I think we'll change it to devs. There's a feature also called hot, so you can see that the change is reflected right over here. So React also has something called hot reloading. So as soon as you change stuff directly to the code and you hit Control Save, you don't have to every time refresh your page like we did earlier. You just make changes to this part and you hit save, it automatically got refreshes. So this is what a cool thing in React. So we will look into JSX props and components tomorrow, but because time won't allow me to do this right now. But let me guys go ahead and tell you how can you publish this app. You can host this app. So of course you have to create your build folder. So you have to do npm run build to build this and keep it in a single file, single folder called build. So you're gonna minify your JavaScript and all stuff. Okay, you got it. And then what you have to do is you have to make an account on Firebase. I already have one. You guys can go ahead and it's free. You can go to the console. Okay, and you can see right here that I've already created a project called mobile-web.dev. You can go ahead and create another project. And if you go ahead, you have to just type in Firebase. Firebase provides its own CLI, so you have to init. You have to initialize. Sorry, it won't work right here. So we haven't set them. So Firebase init. We're gonna configure our app. Yeah. So are you ready to proceed? So we'll say yes. So these are all the features that it gives out of the box, but for now we are using the hosting part. So you have to go and select this, and by pressing space, you're gonna select this option. Move ahead. It's already at default. So you're gonna pass inside this build folder that we have just created. So it's asking that what do you want to use as your public directory. So we want build folder as a public directory, and it's asking configure as a single page app, rewrite all and stuff. We're gonna do this. And this is the part which is tricky. You have to look into this. It's saying that file build/index.html already exists override. So you have to say no. The initialization is done. You can go ahead and deploy. It will take a bit of time. There we go. If you open this link, this is what we saw on our local host, right? And here what we have just pushed to the server. So your app is live, and that's it for today, guys. Anybody has any kind of doubt,